This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. And in just a moment, I'm going to step into the woods at Bangor City Forest and listen to the birds sing. And for instance, if you live in the edge of the woods, I'll bet you hear this bird all the time, and you have no idea what it is. Then, George Smith and Harry Vanderweide will step into the woods and shoot one.
In first place, we always have an amazing adventure when we go hunting. I don't know why. Usually it's not a good adventure, but it is an adventure, you know.
Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine here on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. There is just nothing normal about today's show. Birds are the topic, but we'll chase them three different ways. We're going after songbirds, turkeys, and puffins, in that order. If you've never hunted turkeys before, you'll get a better appreciation of how hard it is to hunt them during the middle part of today's program. Then we'll get in a boat and go out to sea 16 miles to take a look at puffins. But the songbird chase that is about to happen may be the oddest part of the show, which is brought to you by Old Town Trading Post, Dysart's, Hammond Lumber, Napa Auto Parts, Van Raymond Outfitters, O'Neill's Power Equipment, and EBS. Last year, I did a quick walk around the Orono Bog Boardwalk and recorded many of the birds that were singing, and I put them on the air. I was requested to do that again by hundreds of people, dozens of people. There were one guy. Here's the thing. Throughout the month of May, millions of songbirds flood back into Maine and start singing in the woods. They are flying right over all those other states and coming here because, for a songbird, Maine is the way life should be. Maine's woods simply explode with bird songs in a way that other states only wish for. We don't take it for granted. We know it's another one of those things that makes Maine special. But wouldn't it be nice if someone could explain what's making all that noise out there? Listen for the next 20 minutes and you can thank me afterwards. At Bangor City Forest, join me for a walk in the woods. If you're in the Trip Drive parking lot and walk down the West Trail 100 feet, you can't miss the northern water thrush singing. There we go. There's my northern water thrush. Northern water thrush. All right, we're going to take a walk. And we're going to talk about the woods making noise this morning on Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. To me, I think what's most fascinating about this time of year when the woods are making a lot of noise is just how much noise the woods are making. I'm in the parking lot right here at Bangor City Forest, just before you start off the trail, Orono Bog Boardwalk. I hear robin, red-eyed vireo, black-throated green warbler, red-breasted nuthatch, magnolia warbler, northern water thrush, all while I'm standing right here in the parking lot. All right, time to walk into Roland Perry City Forest. I'm going to walk down the road part, what's called Shannon Road. Now, it's no secret that I write the birding column of the Bangor Daily News that happens every Saturday morning. This is the time of year when knowing what you're hearing is really helpful. And for instance, if you live in the edge of the woods, I'll bet you hear this bird all the time, and you have no idea what it is. Well, that is an ovenbird. It's a rather strange bird in that it looks like a thrush, but it's actually a warbler. It spends most of its time on the ground foraging, unlike most warblers, and it builds its nest on the ground in the shape of an old Dutch oven, which is how it got its name. And really, they're all over. You hear that a lot. You just don't see it very much. Ovenbird. All right, here's another warbler. This one's very common in the area, but it's a little hard to remember. It's like a wheat-wheat-weedio or weedo-weedo-weedo. And it's a magnolia warbler, one of the prettiest ones we have. It's very bright yellow, lots of brilliant streaking on the sides. They're everywhere, but you got to look for them to find them. Magnolia warbler. There is something else going on over here. We have a flycatcher, great crested flycatcher that's got to be one of the noisiest son of a guns in the woods. Got to get over here where he's singing or calling. You could hardly call that a song. Oh, magnolia warbler just flew right by me. I can hear another northern water thrush over there by the boardwalk. It's too bad the boardwalk isn't open until mid-June this year, because it's a lively, lively morning here. All right, let's get that great crested flycatcher. So he does that a lot. He does a screech, screech, screech. While I'm standing there, I can hear another northern water thrush down by the entrance to the bog boardwalk, and they're there every year. All right, above my head is an American redstart, a very black bird with orange highlights, really bright, brilliant. Winter wren just started singing behind me. I'd like to catch that one. White-throated sparrow singing in the distance. Let's walk over to where the winter wren is. Right, the quick, sweet, sweet, sweet thing. That's an American redstart. They make a bunch of different vocalizations, drives everybody crazy because they never settle on one song. Anytime you have a big stand of big beeches and birches, you're likely to have a black-throated blue warbler in this state. Very pretty blue. The little white handkerchief in the wings, little white patch. And the song goes beer, 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 bee, or zoo, 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 zee. Got the winter wren there in the middle, too. It's the longest, most beautiful singer in the woods. It's our operatic superstar in Maine. Long, beautiful song. Let's wait on that black-throated blue warbler again. I can see why the black-throated blue warbler is singing. He's got a female right here, too. And now he's chasing her around. I've only gone about a quarter mile down the path now. I can hear another, with our third one, northern water thrush, way off to the left. Ruffed grouse, just drummed, probably about 50 yards back into the woods from me right here. It's one of those birds I feel more than I hear it. Just that low drum. A fourth northern water thrush, now singing off to my left. Another magnolia warbler down straight ahead on the left. Let's get that magnolia warbler again. Weedo, weedo, weedo. It's a very indistinct call. A lot of people have trouble with that one. So don't worry. This isn't a lesson. This is just a walk in the woods with a lot of the forest sound. If you're just tuning in, I'm walking through Bangor City Forest. All the songbirds are back from places as far away as South America. From now until July, they'll be singing. And since they're making all that noise, we're spending a few minutes getting acquainted with what's going on in our own backyards. Coming up in about 15 minutes, George Smith and Harry Vanderweide describe their latest misadventure while turkey hunting in the Maine woods. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. Welcome back to Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. We're taking a walk in the woods, putting some names with the voices. Songbirds make a lot of noise out there, and a lot of folks would kind of like to know who's singing. So we'll spend a few more minutes in Bangor City Forest and then head off for a little turkey hunting. I've gone about a mile on the trail, and a black and white warbler is now starting to warm up. Black and white warblers are zebra birds. Very strongly striped, black and white, and that's it. For a bird that's only two colors, it's a pretty bird. They're all over, and they do this weetsy, weetsy, weetsy squeaky wheel thing. It just sounds like a squeaky wheel. gonna have to get my feet wet to get off the trail and get back here. Okay, in the background, witchetty, 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 witch, common yellowthroat. Old Sam Peabody, 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 the white-throated sparrow. You probably hear that one a lot, right? Did you know what it was? White-throated sparrow, old Sam Peabody, Peabody, Peabody. You can kind of hear it back there. The weetsy, 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 squeaky wheel. Common yellowthroat. There you go, black and white warbler. Well, as you can tell, I bird by ear a lot. A lot of the time, I'm so used to knowing what I'm hearing, because I've been doing this all my life, it's made me lazy. I'm now a lazy birder in that I know what I'm hearing, so I don't bother to look. And that's kind of a pity, because these are really good-looking birds. For a walk in the woods, there's nothing like knowing what's around you. And when they come back in spring, it's like all my friends returning. To me, that's the joy of spring. I like two things most about spring. And that is that winter can keep a grip on Maine for a long time, but when it finally loses its grip, it loses it altogether, and suddenly spring shows up, and suddenly the birds pop into Maine, and suddenly the woods are alive with song. It all happens all at once. Well, that's a good common yellowthroat. Let's grab him just so I can point it out, because once you know this one, you'll be surprised at how many there are around and how much noise they make. Witchetty, 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 witch. This is not abnormal. If it seems like I'm pointing out a lot of songs, or there's a lot of noise in the woods, this is actually normal. You get out here first thing in the morning, no wind, no rain, especially as they first get back in May and early June. Birds are singing like crazy. The woods are alive, and we're here to enjoy it on Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. Once again, the squeaky wheel, weetsy, weetsy, weetsy of the black and white warbler. I should warn you, if you're losing your hearing, that's like the first bird you lose. Nice high squeak. And a lot of people just can't hear it anymore. It is terrible getting older. Okay, I've reached the intersection. You should go down Shandon Road. There's a big intersection. I've hit the Moose Trail. At this point, we're 3,835 feet down the trail. This crossroads is the funny place. It illustrates the point I always see about ovenbirds. Remember the ovenbirds? They're the ground-dwelling warblers that say teacher, teacher, teacher. They are highly territorial, which is the reason you hear them a lot. There he goes. He's telling you, or he's telling his competitors, stay out of my turf, I'm over here. They have very well-defined turf. And I find that a path in the woods is often the dividing line. So one stays on one side, one stays on the other. And if one crosses over for any reason, they'll squabble, sort of fly at each other. Lots of fresh porcupine signs. And I was down here last week, and there's a porcupine up in the tree in broad daylight. But they just stripped the bark off a lot of live trees. There's damage all over this section of woods. That was a yellow-rumped warbler. They're everywhere. And they got the wimpiest song, and they got several variations on this wimpy song. Black and white. Yellow rump. I'm at exactly 5,000 feet. There's a pileated or pileated woodpecker. Everyone around here calls it pileated. Probably technically it's pileated, but... All right, coming up another stand of white pines. That's where the pine warblers are. If you ever hear a pine warbler singing, you will notice it's always in a pine. Virtually never see him singing anywhere other than pines. And it's the trill. Nice, sweet, liquid trill, just like that. There. There you go. And there you go, pine warbler. Now, if you live in a lake surrounded by white pines, right around Kanduska Extreme Canoe Race weekend, first warm day, that's going to migrate in like clockwork, settle over your house, and sing just like that. The woods are alive, and once you know what they are, It makes a walk in the woods a little bit more intriguing because it's like welcoming your old friends back every spring. And this morning they are all singing. All right, I'm up to the 6,000-foot marker in Bangor City Forest down the Maine Loop. I have reached Loop Road for what that's worth. Blue jay. Uh-oh, trouble. Trouble in the woods. Blue jays are alarmed. Blue jays are like the early warning system of nature. Blue jays are big, they're slow, they're beautiful. They should be easy hawk food. They should be easy to track down, but they do that. They watch out for trouble, warn each other constantly. If there's trouble around, they tell each other. And sometimes they'll just gang up on them and force out a predator. They're very good at that, which is what keeps them from being food more often. All right, let's see if we get lucky. The Nashville warbler just started singing up here. If he keeps singing, I can get him. It's a sibit, 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 t-t-t-t-t-t-t. You get him in the backside of the Orono Bog Boardwalk. There's one that always comes in there every year. They're actually very common in spruce fir areas. It's another warbler that actually nests on the ground. Nashville warbler. Nashville warbler is another warbler that's very territorial. There's one on each side of the path, and neither will cross the path. If they do, they're spoiling for a fight. The fact is that I didn't even bring binoculars into the woods. The quintessential idea of a birder is a guy with a pair of binoculars strapped around the neck, right? When the birds are singing, they're telling me who they are and where they are. And I didn't even bring binoculars into the woods this morning. We'll take a break, and I'm heading for the exit here in Bangor City Forest. We'll wrap it up in a moment and then get on with George Smith and Harry Vanderweide as they stalk a turkey and get led in a merry chase. This whole show is about chasing birds, and we'll be chasing puffins later on, too. It's Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. You have returned to Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. We've got about 3 minutes left in Bangor City Forest, where I'm tracking down some of the birds that are singing so you can put a name with a voice. There are over 300 birds that can be found in Maine, and that may seem like a big number so big you could never learn them all. Well, that may be true, but the fact is, around your house, around your camp, around your office, it's really the same birds singing over and over. You can learn all the birds that are making all the noise. Just start with the ones around you. Like, what is this, the 14th time I've mentioned Magnolia Warbler in its Wheat, Wheat, Widow song? It's a real quick Wheat, Wheat, Wheatio. More ovenbirds. There are a lot of ovenbirds. Once you get used to this teacher, you'd be surprised how many there are. And while the ovenbird's singing, I can hear purple finch out over the Orono Bog in the distance. Another ruffed grouse just drummed. That one's probably a good 100 yards, 150 yards off. I'm proceeding down the east loop. I've returned to about 3,500 feet from the parking lot. Should be popping up into the Orono Bog Boardwalk parking area. A snowshoe hare is trotting in front of me down the path. So many people walk this path, these hares really are not very shy. He's kind of looking at me with scorn. Because they change color, snowshoe hares... Hi, big fella. Oh, aren't you cute? Because they change color, they're often called varying hares. For a while, I didn't know whether to call them snowshoe hares or varying hares, and then I decided I was just splitting hairs. And the robin, you should know the robin, cheery up, cheerio. Can't see it, but there's a catbird back there too. See if I can isolate him. That musical fellow back there is a catbird, gray catbird. They're mimics, which means they actually sing a variety of vocalizations that are based on other songs from other birds. They're mimics. Northern mockingbird, which always hangs around the mall, that's a famous mimic. But catbirds are all over the place, and they just sing and sing and sing. There, that's what yellow rump warblers normally sound like without all the variation they can do. Yellow rump warblers are so common that you really should get used to hearing them, except they're so indistinct nobody remembers what they sound like, so I don't blame you. Beginning of the walk, I played you Red-Eyed Vireo. Here I am. Where are you? I'm up here. You're down there. Da-da-da, da-da-da. There's a blue-headed vireo that's just as common in the area, but they tend to be two-note phrases, sort of slurring between the notes. And I'm walking up to one now. E-O, E-A, chubby chubby, chori chori. In the meantime, there's all kinds of other birds around me. You probably heard the white-throated sparrow, old Sam Peabody, Peabody, Peabody. And that's it. I've now returned to the parking lot of Roland Perry City Forest, Bangor City Forest. From Bangor City Forest, this is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. Today's show is about chasing birds. We turn now to George Smith and Harry Vanderweide, longtime hosts of the cable TV show Wildfire. I happened to be at a recent taping, and just before the studio date, I got a Facebook posting from George describing his latest misadventure in the woods with Harry. So I grabbed a few moments of recording time and had him spill out the story. So George and Harry, welcome to Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
This is a real pleasure for me because I get to watch you on Wildfire all the time,
yes.
Which airs on Time Warner Cable.
You're a glutton for punishment.
Well, I guess that's my first question is, were you guys twin separated at birth? It's like, you've been doing this so long, you finish each other's sentences.
Oh, yeah, it has been. Harry first hired me in the late 70s to write for the Maine Sportsman, so we've been friends. He's still trying to turn me into a writer, but not very successful.
Well,
But volume-wise, you've been very
I can
successful.
crank out copies. Yeah.
you know, it's not really the number of words, it's the quality that
Oh,
matters.
now
I
you
know.
tell me.
Yeah.
It's a little late in life to learn that
Yeah,
secret.
yeah.
Well, what got my attention was, a Facebook friendly.
Yeah.
I follow you,
Yeah.
George. I don't
Likewise.
follow Harry at all.
Yeah, he's not on Facebook.
I refuse to
He
go.
doesn't have a computer, I don't think.
Well, the older guys are like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, you posted a turkey photo.
Yes,
You guys were out hunting,
Yes.
and it looked like you had an adventure that day. And I said, well, I got to get that on the show.
It was amazing. You can tell them.
Well, in first place, we always have an amazing adventure when we go hunting. I don't know why. Usually it's not a good adventure, but it is an adventure, Mm-hmm. Well, to start off, it was a very depressing morning at first, because we've got this favorite place that we like, and usually there's a bunch of turkeys roosting there, and they gobble like crazy in the morning. Well, we got there, and it was silent.
No gobbling.
I mean, really silent. Even the warblers weren't making any noise. I mean, it was very quiet.
Is it rainy and windy or what?
No, actually, it was a beautiful morning. They just weren't there. Mm-hmm. So we did a little wandering around, and finally we got an answer from a long way off.
Yeah.
So I have to call very loud. I don't know if you know about turkey calling, but you've got that little diaphragm in your mouth. Yeah. And in order to make noise with it, you've got to use your lungs. Mm-hmm. So, you almost could break your spleen. So I don't actually bring a gun.
He doesn't. No.
I love to go turkey hunting. And I'm very happy just to do the calling.
He's my designated turkey caller.
Yeah.
And he's good at it.
Yeah.
So
not bringing a gun must reduce your effectiveness somewhat.
No, not a bit.
What are you talking into giving up?
I have gotten the pleasure of seeing many, many, many people shoot their first turkey as a result of not bringing a gun. Anyhow, so we got this turkey answering us, and he's really hot. Now, how can you tell? Well, you just can't after a while. You listen to enough turkeys. Yeah. You know when he's really interested.
Harry does a beautiful job of flirting with the young turkeys.
That's right.
They love him. Absolutely love him. Yeah. So there was a lot of gobbling, but it was still a long ways away.
Oh, yeah. So why don't you pick it up?
No, neither one of us can walk that good. So we're stumbling. It takes quite a while to get up there into the woods. And we set up, and we put the decoys up, and we start calling, and they seem to be going away. But the gobbler always turns and answers him. So we moved up, and he kept flirting, and it kept working. But the gobbler was going away, so I started following it up through the woods.
This normally doesn't ever work.
No, you can't run
follow it. You can't.
It doesn't work.
And it was cut over. They could see me for half a mile, but there was no other strategy. So he would call, he would gobble, and I was keeping up until we got to the very top of Surrey Hill, and all of a sudden he was much louder. So I got up to the last bit of woods, and I looked up, and there's a woods road and a very sharp cliff and a stone wall at the top, and he's someplace above the stone wall. Mm-hmm. And he is obviously facing Harry now because he's really gobbling this. And I could hardly hear. Harry's way back there. But it's going. It's working.
He's answering every time, which is the key here, because if you don't know exactly where he is, you're not going to get it.
So I decided I really didn't have that much back pain. So I started sprinting. I sprinted through there, and I climbed up the cliff, and I got up to... He couldn't see me coming, and I'm behind the stone wall, and there's a downed tree. So I'm peeking between the stone wall and the downed tree, and I look, and he is not only there, he was standing on a tree trunk facing me.
Oh, geez.
It looked like an elephant 20 yards away. And he gobbled. And I thought, oh, my word. So I up and then banged, and he didn't gobble anymore. That was the end of it. The worst part of the whole hunt was I had to lug that 23-pound turkey all the way back.
Yeah, and now your back hurts.
Oh, almost killed me.
I mean, you really have to understand, we're basically a pair of cripples.
Yeah. Yeah.
George has a very bad back, and my Lyme disease has really reduced my ability to walk at all.
Yeah.
Plus,
it must be pretty hard to sneak up in a bird that's smarter than you anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But sneak up. We can only go 20 yards. We have to stop and rest.
We've got to take a break. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. My guests are George Smith and Harry Vanderweide, and we're talking turkey hunting. When we come back in just a moment, how much gear do you really need to drop a 23-pound turkey? And what's the difference between cooking this bird and a butterball? Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. We're talking turkey on Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. My guests are George Smith and Harry Vanderweide, longtime hosts of the cable TV show Wildfire. Still to come, we'll be chasing puffins on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. This interview happened because I got a Facebook posting from George about a turkey they had bagged that morning. One of the things that struck me about the photo is that it looks like turkey hunters need more gear than anybody else.
Oh, yeah. Well, we start out with all kinds of stuff. And by then, now we're sweating.
We
peeled off a lot. You didn't see what we peeled off. But you got to be in camo, so that requires everything. Mask.
Head to toe.
Yes.
Gear.
They have incredible eyesite.
Yeah.
And they can see you from a long way
And I
off.
lugged a big bag of turkey decoys with me, which is one of the reasons I don't choose to bring a gun with me.
It takes 2 trips into the woods.
Exactly. So, but really, the key is a good call in many ways. And if you have a good call and you study your turkeys, you can actually kind of gauge their temperament.
Yeah, and we really don't think turkey hunting is much fun unless you get the gobbler going.
That's right.
Because chasing around turkeys, but when they gobble at you, I mean, wow.
When you get an interaction with the wildlife, there's nothing really better than that.
Yeah, and when they actually, Harry has called in quite a few for me. When you see it coming and they're gobbling and they're coming and coming, I mean,
and fanning.
You can hardly wait. The first time he ever took me, I was ready to shoot at 125 yards. And he says, wait. But this Tom had mated with a hen in which they jump up and down on the hen, and there were 6 deer in the field, and they stopped and watched.
Turkey porn.
Finally, finally, Harry was able to get the turkey's attention. The hen wandered off. They were finished, and it came right over, and I shot it at about 10 feet. And he said, "It'll never be that easy again."
On the other hand, what a way to go out if you're a Tom Turkey.
I thought this was going to be an easy hunt always. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He had a smile on his face.
Yep,
as he
sex and
approached
gone.
us.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for somebody who doesn't turkey hunt, you see them in the road all the time. You see them in your yard all the time, and you wonder, how hard can it be to hunt these guys?
Yeah.
What changes between the time they leave your backyard and the time you're following them into the
A
woods?
lot of times somebody will tell us that there's a turkey in their driveway every morning at 8:27.
Yeah.
And if you just come and they come out of this place and you just go over there a little ways from the house and wait, the turkey will be there and you can shoot him. Never happens.
No.
Okay,
No.
So even though you see them, it doesn't work the way you
And
think.
they're very skittish. And they see you. They have tremendous eyesight. They're in retreat as soon as they see something.
You have to realize that in order to get the turkey, we need it within, we basically hunt 30 yards. We don't like shots longer than that. You can kill a turkey at longer range, but this is a close-up game. Getting 30 yards from a turkey is extremely difficult, especially if he's with hens.
I will say that there's a horse farmer we like to hunt, and the fellow feeds them all winter. And when he comes out into the yard with the bag, they come running from the hill.
Yes.
And I thought, I'm going to camouflage and look like Tom. I'm going to have the feed bag, and I'm going to just wait till they run down the hill. But
One mortar shell could take out the whole
oh,
flock.
you could get them all.
Somehow I don't think it would work just the same.
Well, we've expanded the time you can hunt. The season's much longer. The bag limit's a lot larger. The fee is half. I mean, we're trying, and still we're not getting enough people hunting.
Well, I was wondering about that. We have so many turkeys now, and clearly we don't have enough people hunting the
We
turkeys.
don't. No.
It's
Why is
odd.
that? Why is that? The equipment?
I don't know. It really doesn't make any sense. We may have the best turkey hunting in the country. I mean, we really are very lucky here.
I think part of it is there's a lot to do in the spring. A lot of these, we love to fish. I'm not getting as much fishing as I'd like. I mean, and it's hard. This is the other thing.
Well, that's the good part. I mean, if you want to talk about fair chase hunting, this is it.
Oh, yeah.
I'll
Tell you what, too, getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that wears.
Why does hunting have to be so early for turkeys? Why can't you hunt them at noon?
Because if you can get near where they're roosting, they always gobble before they fly down. So now you know where they are. You can position yourself better.
Yes.
And often they'll only gobble for maybe a half an hour.
And truly, being in the woods at dawn,
Oh,
you've done
God.
that bird watching.
It's
I mean,
great.
it's the
Oh, God.
best time to be out
It
there.
is, absolutely.
But it is rugged on your person as you get up constantly.
I like to go on Wednesdays because I figure by Wednesday all the other hunters are so damn tired they're going to stay.
Yeah, they're not there.
Yeah. The phrase "tough old bird" is that accurate? Is it?
Oh, yes.
An older, wiser Tom, harder to hunt.
Oh yeah, they won't come in. You know you got an old one when he's gobbling like mad, but he expects you, the hen, to come up.
A lot of times they've learned not to go all the way to the hen. They come part of the way and then they hang up.
Yeah.
One time I hunted a bird for 3 years. He did the same thing every spring. He got in the middle of a field and he sat there and he would answer you each time you called to him.
But he wouldn't get close.
He wouldn't come.
Stand out there.
Been shot at before.
So now is it personal? Now do you got to get this guy?
Oh yeah,
It's your hen.
coming with a rifle.
One of us is going down.
Well, the truth of the matter is that if you're a serious turkey hunter, you soon come to learn that all things in the universe need to be aligned perfectly before you're actually going to shoot a turkey.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let me ask this, I suppose. It's not hard to get a kid hooked on fishing.
Right.
Is it hard to get a kid hooked on turkey hunting when it's that difficult to get one?
Well, I think it's a great way to introduce hunters
Yes.
because you're interacting with the animal. It's not like deer hunting where you might never see one the whole season.
Yeah.
You're going to see some turkeys. You're going to be having them gobble at you.
Yeah.
And we give the kids a head start, which helps a little bit. If they go out on youth day, they have a pretty good chance of interacting with a turkey. And you see a lot of the kids are successful on that first
But
day.
the other thing is you can give them things to play with. You can give them a turkey call. You don't have to give them this diaphragm, which is fairly difficult
That's
to
right.
learn.
Yeah.
You can give him a little box call, and he can play with that at home, driving his mother crazy and eventually causing her to send him out of the house.
And you don't sit in a deer stand for hours on end.
Right.
That's a big one.
Moving around.
It's huge.
You know.
It's huge.
And I like to take new hunters. We've taken a number of young women who just started hunting, including Harry's daughter, and it's
Yeah.
so much fun because something's happening all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Now-
no question.
turkey calls, you do that. You use owl calls the night before to figure out where they are?
Well, we used to call
some
the
people-
night before, but now we're lazy.
That's right.
Actually, we've hunted long enough so we know more or less
Yeah.
where the birds are going to be.
Yeah, but the truth is
but
you're making
we-
a lot of noise out
But
there.
we owl hoot in the morning.
When
Yeah.
we first get out of the vehicles, we do the hooting with the owl call, and
Yeah.
they'll gobble. And so then we know we're in the right area. But I tell you, it's pretty darn discouraging when they don't gobble.
Yeah, that's right.
Nothing.
Here you are, 3 or 4 in the morning, and you've gone through all this work.
Yeah.
And,
But the owls answer more.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And every once in a while, one will come in
They'll
looking
fly
like he
in.
wants
Oh,
to
absolutely.
get his claws into you.
Yeah.
And in fact, that is what he wants to
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
I don't know if I've never heard of it happening with a barred owl, but I know people who've called in great horned owls before.
Yeah. Wow.
And you learn the lesson once by putting the tape recorder on the hood of the car
Oh.
and not hold it. Because people have been raked
Ouch.
before by
Oh.
a
Ouch.
huge owl.
Yeah.
Ouch.
I guess last question, how is cooking a wild turkey different than cooking a butterball?
Well, the butterball is injected with
Good stuff,
butter-like
yeah.
substances, and it's also processed in a lot of water. The turkey has the domestic turkey has a very high fat content, and it's actually a different shaped bird. The domestic turkey has a flat breast. The wild turkey has a V breast. This is the difference between breeding over
Yeah.
time for meat. His breast is delicious, but it is very dry. My technique is simple. I use a browning bag, and I put fruit juice or
Lots of
beer
juice.
or
Yeah.
something in there, butter,
Yeah.
some herbs, and it comes out really nice.
It's
Not
very tasty, but like Harry said, it can be awfully dry if you don't do it right.
and
Yeah.
the legs. You better be a man
Oh,
before
no.
you try to eat a
Don't
wild
bother.
turkey leg.
Don't even bother.
You know, these guys walk 20 miles a day sometimes,
Yeah, yeah.
looking for hens. So
These are
the-
drumsticks. You can really use
Oh
as
man,
drumsticks.
I'm telling you.
The first time we went out, one of the first year, I saw a bunch of jakes going, and Harry let me go after them. I went for 3 or 4 miles, and they never turned around. And when I came back, he said, you can't really chase those jakes. So I
Sometimes
learned
you
that.
have to learn the hard way.
Well, I enjoy you guys on Wildfire, and thanks for joining me in the show.
We love your show too, Bob.
Yes, Bob.
That was George Smith and Harry Vanderweide. Coming up, we've got one last bird to chase, and we have to go 16 miles out to sea to get it. As Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine continues on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. We're back. Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine is on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. 2 weekends ago, the Wings Waves Woods Festival happened in Deer Isle, Stonington. It's the first multi-day birding festival that happens in eastern Maine each year. The Downey Spring Birding Festival happened last weekend in the Cobscook Bay area, and the Acadia Birding Festival is going on right now. During the Wings Waves Woods Festival, there were several boat trips. In a moment, I'll be heading out to Seal Island to look at puffins. But the festival opened with a boat trip to Marshall Island. Marshall Island is just southwest of Swans Island, which is southwest of Mount Desert Island. Captain Bill Baker of Old Quarry Adventures took us out to the island on board the Nye Duck. Marshall Island is now the property of Maine Coast Heritage Trust. Terry Town is the island's steward, and he told us stuff I did not know.
And this is Marshall Island, which is 985 acres. This is the largest undeveloped, wholly conserved island on the eastern seaboard. It hasn't really had much human interaction. The first homestead was in 1850 on the north end. We'll go by that homestead. There was some extensive logging in the 60s where a lot of the island was cut off. There was a boom line run across to Ringtown Island. They boomed the logs out onto a barge, and then it went to fine paper. But other than that, that's pretty much the extent of the human activity that's taken place here. There's no squirrels, no foxes, no raccoons, no frogs, no pitcher plants. It's quite unique in that area.
Black flies?
No black flies, but we have mosquitoes, but they don't seem to show up until the end of August or September. Now, as sure as hell as I said there are no black flies, we'll probably see some today because there has been, the streams are still flowing, but it's kind of unusual. We're really early, as you can see. Things run about 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes even a month behind on what you'll see on the mainland, say in Bangor and in that area. So
One thing the Maine Coast Heritage Trust does very, very well is trail construction and maintenance. We took a good walk around the island and admired how different an undisturbed island really looks. Besides the one old settlement, which is now no more than a cellar hole and a capped well, there's only one other distinguishing feature. At one time, a real estate development company intended to build vacation housing for millionaires out there. The plan was to fly them into their vacation estates. The company went bankrupt, but the remains of the airstrip are still in the center of the island. Weird. We left the island about 15 minutes ahead of schedule and begged Captain Bill Baker to take us fully around the island on the way home so we could get an idea of just how big the largest undeveloped island in the eastern United States really is. It's pretty big. Naturally, we did a little birding on the way home. So, we just got our purple sandpipers. Those are the hard ones. In about a week, they're going to go way up into the Arctic and start nesting up there. So they'll leave Maine, but we get a lot of them in the winter. And we just passed the ledge right off Old Quarry Adventures, where Captain Bill Baker is taking us back in, and we'll be landing shortly. Another successful adventure at sea off Deer Isle, Stonington. 2 days later, it was time to climb aboard the Mink. That's the main boat of the Isle of Hope ferry. We were supposed to be on the same boat the day before, but high winds and bad weather scuttled our adventure. Fortunately, seas calmed down just in time for us to motor out to Seal Island, a major puffin colony that's about 16 miles out to sea from Stonington. All right, here we are on board the Mink, getting past the south end of Isle of Hope, which is really a mile off in the distance. We're heading directly out to Seal Island, which is the puffin colony we're going to. Just to check in along the way to let you know what we've been seeing, we had a pair of brant fly by. Brant is a small goose, smaller than a Canada goose, and they are more southern in the middle Atlantic states. They get up in New York City in pretty big numbers. You see them off Scarborough Marsh and Cape Elizabeth, that area through winter. But only 3 times can I remember ever seeing them north of Portland, and today was the 3rd time, when 2 of them flew right by the boat. Swells are relatively big considering that everything was stormed out yesterday and none of the boats went out, but they're really pretty mild. They seem to be about 5-foot swells, big periods in between, so we're not rocking and rolling, nothing splashing. Good trip out so far to Seal Island. I'll check in with you later. We're easily within view of Seal Island now. The puffins have started popping up, 2 off the starboard bow moments ago. Still no razorbills yet, but as I say, we're approaching the island. Swell's still not bad out here. A little northeast breeze has just kicked in, so the temperature just dropped about 8 degrees in the last couple of minutes. But the swells are 3-4 feet. Still waiting for the first turns to come by the boat because we are approaching a colony where they're nesting too. No razorbills yet, but we are approaching the island, and I'll check in again in a few minutes. All right, we're in the little inlet, the little bay, the little cove of Seal Island where the puffins collect. We've had a bunch of them. We've also had some razorbills. Number is a little low, in my opinion. Plenty of eiders, really more black guillemots than I can remember, and I remember a lot. Some eiders flying off beside us. It's funny, as we approach the island, things get foggy again, which is good because that tends to lock the birds in close here. Lots and lots of common terns. Haven't seen any Arctics yet, which is not a surprise. They travel all the way from the southern tip of South America, and it takes them a while to get here. Usually they arrive about a week later. Okay, we're really in the surf zone now. This is the wild side of the island. Big, turbulent waves splashing into the rocks, bounding up high, and then coming back out to reach the incoming surf, so it's turbulent. You wouldn't want to paddle in these conditions. And yet the eider ducks are bobbing up and down like nothing's wrong. We've just turned away from the island. We're heading back towards shore. Very successful trip out here. Common murre was one of the last good spots. Typically they don't get down this far. You may find a few. They tend to be up around Wachaya, Seal Island, and then up into Canada. But in summer, they don't nest really much in this area. So we're kind of lucky to get even one common murre out here today. Around Tiverton, you might get a few more, and as you go north, they really start to fill up around Campobello, Lubeck area. So we did well with that. We had Northern Gannet go by just a moment ago, and that's in the fog. A different kind of adventure. A really gentle ride expected on the way back in, because now we're going with the waves, and there's not much wind. The Idaho Ferry is going back out to Seal Island several more times this summer. Reserve your spot by going to idaho.com. If you need a place to stay, I really love Inn on the Harbor, right on the waterfront in downtown Stonington. Make a weekend out of it. This show is on the web at 929theticket.com. Hear it again or share it with others. Next week, it's hard to find a Mainer who doesn't have an opinion on the idea of a national park in the Maine woods. We all can argue about it until the cows come home, but before I argue, I like to hear what all sides are saying. Lucas St. Clair will be my guest, and we'll spend the whole hour talking about the proposed park, and maybe set the record straight in a couple of things so we can get back to arguing. That's next Saturday morning at the usual time, 9 a.m. Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine is brought to you by Old Town Trading Post, Dysarts, Hammond Lumber, Napa Auto Parts, Van Raymond Outfitters, O'Neill's Power Equipment, and EBS. Join me next Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket.